Hey guys, today's drop features Anil, co-founder of cSigma, a protocol offering higher risk-adjusted yields on stablecoins without the crypto volatility. Welcome, Anil. It's good to have you.
Thank you, Ed. Thanks for having me on your show.
No worries. We've just been talking cricket, actually, guys. But now we're moving on to the good stuff. So, look, Anil, it's great to have you on because you've recently just integrated the Portals API, right, into cSigma. How's that all going?
Very well, very well. I really like what Portals is offering to its users. Uh, Even take cSigma protocol. We don't necessarily provide a great temporal view of the token price, how
Hmm.
it did in 1 week, in 1 month, whereas Portals provide a great view of how our LP tokens have been generating for last month, what yield investors get in a unified setting, right? When users go there, they should be able to compare, look at different choices. I think it's a great value add to DeFi community, in my opinion.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, we're getting a lot of good feedback from it. Obviously, it's growing. Our API calls are going crazy.
Mhm.
And yeah, we just had our company all hands actually today, and the statistics are fantastic. So we're very happy with it, and so are our users as well. So yeah, it's great. Beginning of a good relationship. So I,
Absolutely.
I'd like to talk more about C Sigma actually, and I dived into your documentation quite heavily last week, as well as learning more from our team. And actually, I've been playing with your platform a lot. Let's talk about the edge, right? So C Sigma positions edge, which is one of your products. So positions edge as a bridge between DeFi and institutional lending. What inspired you to bring fixed interest institutional grade loans into a DeFi native framework?
Sure, sure. So what I realized when I was at Ripple was there are great institutional products, but they're available only to high net worth individuals or sophisticated investors. Secondly, you have to be in the financial centers like New York, London. There is no mechanism whatsoever to take these financial assets and make them available to people who want to put $100. No infrastructure whatsoever. And that's the origin for C Sigma Edge. So we took these complicated assets, we made it easy for retail investors or DeFi users to understand one, and there is no minimum. On our protocol, we do have investors who put $10 and they're generating 16, 17% yield. I feel so rewarded to level the playing field where the yield is widely accessible. They have access to these institutional products. So there is a big social impact that we hope we are making in crypto. Another sub question in what you asked is why fixed yields, right? Why do we need to do that? If you look at DeFi yields, they are highly correlated with crypto prices. In a bull market, you make 8, 10%. In a bear market, it goes to 2 to 3%. If we all believe that crypto should stand as a independent asset class, it should have more consistent yields, right? I mean, you can't have this volatility. It's a detriment to have a more a viable asset class, for it to become. So that drove us to bring these fixed yields to DeFi, and we choose borrowers companies where there isn't much volatility to the yields. And our hope is that will help all of us to grow this asset class into more viable asset class where investors feel that they get like more consistent yields on their capital.
And could you explain how that might affect the risk if you're entering a volatile stage in the market, but you're fixed in?
Yeah. So our assets are business debt, debt that goes to the companies.
Right.
And if you look at the traditional finance, companies always borrow with a fixed interest. If you go to a bank, they'll tell you your interest is 12%, and you are obligated to pay 12% interest, whatever happens, right? So the source of this yield is a fixed yield from companies, and we are tokenizing that fixed yield debt that companies are used to borrow, and that gives an advantage to continue maintaining the fixed yields. So
All right.
we wouldn't be correlated or impacted by crypto prices in these walls.
Thanks for clearing that up, for all our viewers to understand. So you now have both single edge pools, right? Single asset edge pools, right, with your ERC 4626 contract, and the new multi asset, right, with the CSUSD vault ERC 7575. What did you decide to build? Why did you decide, actually? Why did you decide to build both, and how should users think about choosing between them?
Sure. So the first one, 4626, if we have a borrower who wants to borrow, they will set up two wallets, one for USDC, one for USDT. And if they want to borrow another stablecoin capital, they will set up another wallet. So uh, what we realized is borrowers are the asset originators. They end up duplicating the wallets, one for USDC, one for USDT. And with the explosion of stablecoins, as we are witnessing, there is a lot of duplication in those walls and the fragmentation of liquidity, if you will. So that led us to choose a multi-asset wallet in CSUSD. So in CSUSD, we started support for two assets, USDC, USDT, and we design in a way that tomorrow, if JP Morgan stablecoin becomes biggest one, then we add to the same wallet, and it would be seamless to the lenders. There is no change to walls, yield, and any of that. So I gave you the technical reason that there is a duplication of the walls. This multi-asset, it reduces the duplication and provides seamless experience. So coming to when lenders have to choose what, it's more of a liquidity criteria, if you will. In the 4626, there is a good liquidity. If you really want to have outstanding liquidity, you go with the latter, CSUSD multi-asset wallet, because we can move the liquidity among the collateral, so the liquidity profile is much higher with the latter.
Right. So with the CSUSD, you were saying, is that a one deposit equals diversified exposure? Is that what you're?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. So how much of the design is actually focused on making this institutional grade lending accessible to everyday DeFi users?
Quite a bit. So there are design choices at the technical level is one, and there are design choices on type of assets we bring on, and there are design choices around how do we manage the liquidity profile, right? That's very important for DeFi users. So to answer your question, in both worlds, 4626 or multi-asset world, all of these design choices were incorporated. From lender standpoint, they get all the benefits. Both are institutional asset walls, similar yield that is mid to high teens, so they get all the benefits. So delving into those design choices a little bit, uh, on the financial asset side, we only allow highly vetted borrowers on the profile, on the platform. And there is a loan agreement, 30-page loan agreement that governs all the loans with the borrowers. So in both walls, you see these fully vetted financial assets. On the liquidity design, uh, there is cash or spot liquidity in 98.5% of the times. And we are further increasing the liquidity. So we design the walls in a way that there is a spot cash in it all the time, so lenders can lend. And there is a withdrawal queue, right? I mean, if cash is not there, you enter in withdrawal queue. And we are launching secondary trading. So if you really need money instantaneously, we are partnering with private credit funds who can buy your position at a discount.
And your deposits and withdrawals, obviously they're across multiple chains with Edge. Is that supported with Layer 0, if I'm not mistaken, from your docs? Layer 0 and Stargate.
Target.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Okay, so from a user perspective, what does this multi-chain design unlock? And how do you tackle the risks of bridging?
Sure. So we we evaluated two paths. One, we run the protocol natively on the chain itself, right?
Hmm.
Or you use bridging to bring capital for many chains into one central chain, right? So in the first one, it's not a scalable approach. I mean, if there are 15 networks, I mean, you can't run on 15. I mean, you could, but it's just too much operational overhead. So we went down the second path where we run the protocol on layer one, Ethereum layer one, which is probably the most secure, with the deepest liquidity. And we bridge liquidity from other chains, Arbitrum, Base, other 10 chains. To your question, how do we deal with the security reliability? So we put in a lot of effort to uh, pick a bridge that we think has a sound technical design in a Stargate layer 0. Secondly, the bridging risk exists only during the transit of funds. Let's say you're putting 5,000 from uh, base into edge pools on Ethereum. The risk window is fairly minimal. You take the risk when money comes from base to Ethereum and vice versa, which is few minutes. And once you move the funds, your funds are in layer one, you get Ethereum, our cSigma LP tokens. There is no risk after that. So we feel that the risk window is so small, few minutes. Hopefully, it's negligible for the investors.
All right.
Once you get the capital in, the LP token is on Ethereum, and there is no risk to it.
Right, right. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah, you're right about Ethereum, and that's where the deep liquidity is, right? You don't want to go building across, like you said, 50 different networks and exposing yourselves, and like in two ways, right? One is obviously maintaining that infrastructure, but yeah, the other is a risk. So um, so emphasizing on, well, you've mentioned JP Morgan, you mentioned a few big names, some institutional borrowers and stuff. Who are these borrowers today, and what does cSigma's risk team look for when approving new lending opportunities?
So we focus on mid-market borrowers, by the way, not JP Morgans of the
No,
world.
I know,
So
but I'm just saying it's some institutional names.
yeah, so uh, when I say mid-market, they're still big companies. So we have probably uh, about 10 borrowers. So they borrowed at least $20 million debt or equity capital. So these are big companies with tens of millions of revenues. To give a couple of anecdotal examples, we have a AI SaaS company out of Asia. It has a revenue of probably $60 million USD per year, and it's coming on to NASDAQ as publicly traded. So being a tech company, it's growing rapidly, and we are providing cSigma debt capital to that. That's one
Great.
company. The second one is a trade finance company. So they lend smaller checks, $50,000, $100,000 checks to exporters who export goods from Asia to US, and we provide what we call wholesale capital to the trade finance company. We give them 5 million, and they pledge a big diversified loan book of probably 100 200 loans. So we have a big exposure in trade finance, AI SaaS companies. These are fairly well established, with sizable revenue. Almost all of them are in developed markets, US, Hong Kong, Singapore, and Europe. We don't allow borrowers from developing markets yet. We have a decent ecosystem. We have 130 lenders, if I remember it right. We tokenized 100 million debt. We have 10 borrowers. So we built up pretty decent ecosystem. Now we are in the phase of really scaling it up, going to like 10,000 lenders. That's where
That's
we are.
that's awesome. And like on that side of scale, I'd love to talk a bit more about the users. Okay, ultimately, without them, you have nothing. well, you do, but I'm saying the users are the forefront of it. Users can lock LP, LP tokens. They can earn Sigma token rewards. What role does the Sigma token play, in the broader ecosystem? And how do you see the governance evolving around it?
Sure. So it's right now heavily governance token and some utility token. It's a good amount of utility to the borrowers. So far, the utility is the companies who are borrowing on the platform. If they hold cSigma tokens, they get some fee discounts. There's a small fee we levy on them, and they get a fee discount. That's a utility on the borrower side. And most of the governance decisions, like how much incentives we need to give, what type of new walls we need to approve, all those things. Token buybacks, by the way, we do quarterly token buybacks. All of those decisions are made by the community, who hold cSigma tokens. Going forward, even we are going to incentivize the lenders. They will get some base yield, which is still in the mid-teens. And if they hold cSigma tokens, they get additional yield from our fees that we generate. So it's a good amount of governance and a lot of utility to the borrowers as well as lenders on the platform.
Okay, nice. And how many Sigma tokens have you set aside as a protocol reserve? Like the loss.
Loss reserve is about 100 million tokens or 10% of outstanding, which is a big bulk. We allocated only, call it 20 to 25% of the tokens.
Right.
10% or 100 million we allocated for loss reserve, which is plenty.
Great. And in what scenarios would this reserve actually come into play, and how, how confident are you that it can cover black swan events?
Yeah, so as I have explained, we have many layers of collateral already at the borrower level. So it's unlikely that borrower, we lose money on the borrower, but let's assume we do some fraud, whatever. Then this loss reserve kicks in before lenders take any haircut. So uh, this allows market stress, events, at least for next couple of years, up to $100 million capital on the platform at least. And so we are pretty covered there. It's worth to a point that we should be able to cover like stressful market events if anything happens beyond managing risk at the borrower level.
Right. Okay. And in terms of audits, you're audited by, or the Edge, let's say, cSigma Edge is audited by Immune Bytes and Beyond Audits. And what ongoing measures do you take to ensure borrower defaults, smart contract exploits, and Oracle manipulation that might put lenders at risk?
Yeah, so we built many guards, not only in the smart contract but also in the system level. That operates around the smart contracts. For example, borrower underwriting. Our loan agreement is 30 page with so many covenants. We monitor them on monthly basis, so we have a good view of the risk. So that's our unique engine that looks at the risk, give the credit rating. That's something we built and refined in last 3-4 years. That's unique for us. Now we're coming to Oracle manipulation. We built defenses throughout the system. For example, one defense in the in the smart contract is uh, the AUM or price oracle should not change by more than 10% in any given day.
Okay.
So nobody can come and muck around and move it. And there is only one wallet that can make update on this price oracle. And that wallet, the keys and everything are secured in AWS vault, safe vault. So unless somebody breaches AWS, you cannot have access to that wallet that updates the price oracles. So in a nutshell, we built defenses in many layers, both technically as well as credit process wise.
No, that's great. I'm sorry, I've been on the risk topic for a few minutes now, but I will move on.
Sure.
It's great what you're doing. I really see a huge foundation that you've built and you're building. You've obviously gone really from the ground up, and timing wise, it's such a great time for protocols like yourself to be building in DeFi. But with the CSUSD launching and institutional adoption growing, what's next for cSigma? Are you focusing on scaling TVL or new products, deeper integrations into DeFi protocols, or what?
Yeah, so we are scaling through integrations. So there are many other DeFi protocols who don't have RWAL in their suite. So we are integrating with a handful of DeFi protocols, making RWAL available to their users. So that's one. Secondly, we are trying to integrate with exchanges and neobanks to make this yield available to stablecoin holders in exchanges. That's the second area. And both of them will lead to higher TVL for sure. We are also launching new products which are convergence of RWA yield and on-chain yield. So we have another vault coming up where we do 70-30, so 70% RWA and 30% on-chain yield. By the way, CSUSD, it has convergence of both RWA and on-chain yield for liquidity reasons. So we have new product launches coming around that.
No, that's fantastic. We'll keep an eye out for sure and let us know. We're
Will
good.
do.
Yeah, we'd love to know. And obviously, our DeFi, our Portals Explorer shows
Sure.
all positions the moment they're deployed on chain now with our new indexer and stuff. So
Sure.
before they're going live, let us know. We'd love to push them.
Sure.
All right,
Would do.
no worries. And Anil, we keep these short and sweet. It's been great. I've really enjoyed the chat. Very information filled. At the end of these DeFi drops, I always have the same question, which is like our ongoing game of 2025. Today, the DeFi TVL sits at around 161 billion, according to DeFi Llama.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you predict it will be by the end of 2025? Okay. This is, let's say, the midnight. Okay, it's always midnight of the 31st of December 2025. What figure do you think it's going to be?
I would guess another 15 billion added to it, another 10% growth in next 3-4 months. That's my, so 10% of it is 178, 180 billion range.
We're going for 178 to 180 billion. I'll choose one number, so I'll just go for the middle, which is 179 billion.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
It's a very conservative. I quite like that. It's probably more realistic.
Yeah, and
yeah.
on that point, this is my third startup, by the way, Ed, and people underestimate the challenge of adoption. People always underestimate what it takes to drive the adoption. And I'm more pragmatic. Don't drink Kool-Aid for too much. Just just be realistic. Then you deal with the fewer surprises.
Absolutely. I mean, did you learn a lot of that in your previous roles?
Yeah. This is, as I said, like I built 2 companies in the past.
Mm-hmm.
If you are pragmatic, then you're closer to reality, and you don't have to deal with too many business surprises. Whereas one of the mistakes people constantly make is being overly optimistic or even optimistic, and they always get surprised. You constantly hear this. Oh, I did not realize it could happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's like the classic. It's like the classic trade, right? You're like, oh, it's green, it's going up, it's gonna keep going. It's fantastic. I'll just keep holding this. Yeah.
yeah.
Wake up in the morning with no stop loss, right? So, Anil, it's been really great chatting. Thank you so much. And yeah, I look forward to continuing our great working relationship with cSigma.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, would love to invite your audience to come at least get to know what is out there, how you can make money in DeFi. So I would
Yep.
like to invite all your audience to check out.
We will send them your way. Thank you so much, Anil.
Thank you so much, Ed. Have a
Mm.
great rest of the day.
Thank you.